Hey everyone, welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that I think we all struggle with: time management.
Or perhaps, more accurately, priority management.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Priority management. That's good. So we've got this awesome source here that we're going to be diving into today. And it really digs deep into how to escape this thing that I think we all kind of fall into this trap, where we think that being busy means we're being productive. So if you've ever felt that, like you're just like running on this treadmill, you're checking off all these tasks, but at the end of the day, you're not really moving any closer to those big goals, the things that really matter.
It's so easy to mistake motion for progress. We get caught up in this whirlwind of activity, and we convince ourselves that we're being productive. But are we really?
And this is where I think this source material really shines. They introduce this concept of the productive procrastinator, which I think is brilliant. It's like we're masters of getting things done. But are we getting the right things done?
Exactly. We prioritize the easy tasks, the low-hanging fruit, because they give us that quick sense of accomplishment.
I totally like cleaning out my inbox. Feels so good to finally hit that 0 unread emails. But is it really moving the needle on my bigger goals? Probably not.
Likely not. It's like the author compares it to picking all the low-hanging fruit in an orchard. It's satisfying in the moment, but you're neglecting the trees that need tending, the ones that will bear the most valuable fruit in the long run.
So how do we shift our focus from just being busy to actually prioritizing those major tasks, as the author calls them?
Well, the key lies in understanding that true time management isn't about cramming more tasks into our day. It's about making conscious choices about what deserves our attention. It's about identifying those major tasks, the ones that truly align with our goals and aspirations.
And it's like tending to those most valuable crops in your garden, even if it means ignoring some of the weeds for a while. You're focused on the long game, not just that immediate gratification.
And one of the most interesting concepts the author discusses is Parkinson's law.
Parkinson's law.
Which states that work expands to fill the time allotted.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Have you ever noticed that when you give yourself a week to complete a task, it somehow manages to take the entire week, even if it could realistically be done in a day or two?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
That's Parkinson's law in action.
So are you saying we're all secretly time-stretching wizards?
It's less about magic and more about our natural tendency to fill the available space.
Makes sense.
If we have a week to do something, we'll often find ways to stretch it out, add unnecessary details, get sidetracked.
It's like packing for a trip a month in advance, and then somehow still ending up frantically throwing things in a suitcase the night before.
Precisely. And that's why the author emphasizes the importance of setting clear deadlines. It creates a sense of urgency and helps us stay focused.
So no more open-ended tasks on the to-do list. Speaking of to-do lists, the author introduces this technique that I found really intriguing, the Ivy Lee method.
Ah, yes. The Ivy Lee method.
It's all about choosing just 6 tasks to focus on each day.
It sounds simple, but it's surprisingly effective.
Yeah, and they emphasize that limiting yourself to 6 really helps you combat decision fatigue.
Exactly. Have you ever noticed how draining it can be to constantly make decisions throughout the day?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
By limiting yourself to 6 key tasks, you free up mental energy and can focus on what truly matters.
6 does seem like a pretty small number, though. I feel like some days my to-do list is already overflowing before I even finish my morning coffee.
That's where the real power of the method lies. That constraint of having to choose only 6 forces you to prioritize. Think of it this way. If your house was on fire, what 6 things would you grab on your way out?
Okay.
You wouldn't be worried about that stack of unread magazines or that half-finished craft project. You'd focus on what's truly essential.
Wow, that's a powerful analogy. And I can see how applying that level of ruthless prioritization to our daily tasks could really be a game changer. But how do we decide which 6 tasks make the cut?
That's where we delve into the heart of priority management. The author suggests aligning your tasks with your values and long-term goals.
Okay.
Ask yourself, which of these tasks will move me closer to where I want to be? That's where you'll find your 6 most important tasks for the day.
I like that.
The ones that will truly make a difference.
All right, so we've got our 6 tasks. What's next?
Well, the Ivy Lee method recommends prioritizing those 6 tasks and then tackling number 1, first thing in the morning.
Okay, so get that most important task out of the way first thing.
Exactly. And once that's done, you move on to number 2 and so on.
And what if you don't get through all 6 in a day?
No problem. Simply move any unfinished tasks to the top of your list for tomorrow.
So it's a rolling system.
Exactly. It keeps you accountable and ensures that you're consistently focusing on those high-impact activities.
It's like having a personal productivity coach, whispering in your ear every morning. Remember those goals you set. Let's make some progress today.
I like that. A little nudge in the right direction.
Exactly. And speaking of progress, the author also talks about this concept called Carlson's Law.
Have you ever noticed how even the smallest interruption can completely derail your focus?
Oh, absolutely. It's like trying to build a house of cards while someone's running a leaf blower next to you.
Oh.
One tiny gust of wind and now all your progress collapses.
That's a perfect analogy. Carlson's Law highlights this hidden cost of interruptions. It states that interrupted work takes longer and is less effective than work done in a focused flow.
So all those little pings and dangs and quick questions throughout the day, they're actually adding up to a significant loss of productivity.
Precisely. Every time we're pulled away from a task, it takes time and energy to regain our focus.
So how do we combat these productivity-sapping interruptions? Do we need to become hermits and live in a Wi-Fi-free zone?
Well, becoming a digital hermit might be a bit extreme. But the author does emphasize the importance of creating a distraction-free work environment, even if it's just for short bursts of focused time.
So maybe silencing those notifications, turning off the email inbox, and finding a quiet corner where we can really concentrate.
Exactly. Create a mini productivity sanctuary,
I like that.
a fortress of focus.
All right, fortress of focus. That's going on my vision board.
And along with managing those external distractions, it's also important to recognize our own internal limits.
Ah, you're talking about Illich's law of diminishing returns.
What?
The idea that we're not robots.
Yeah.
And pushing ourselves beyond a certain point actually leads to decreased productivity.
That's right. We all have a finite amount of energy and focus each day. Trying to power through without breaks is like driving a car with an empty tank.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, you're going to sputter to a stop.
So those strategic breaks, they're not just about indulging in another cup of coffee or catching up on social media. They're actually essential for maintaining our productivity.
Exactly. The author emphasizes the importance of productive rest. Stepping away from our work, even for a few minutes, allows our minds to recharge and come back stronger.
Okay, so like hitting the reset button on your brain.
Exactly.
Not about being lazy, but about being strategic with our energy. Love that.
And speaking of being strategic, the author also suggests embracing our natural rhythms.
Oh, are you talking about our circadian rhythm, those natural peaks and dips in our energy levels throughout the day?
Exactly.
Have you ever noticed how sometimes you feel super alert and focused, while other times you can barely keep your eyes open?
The author suggests that we can optimize our productivity by paying attention to these natural cycles and scheduling our most demanding tasks during our peak performance times.
That's brilliant. Instead of fighting against our natural rhythms, we can work with them to achieve peak performance.
Exactly.
It's like surfing a wave instead of trying to swim against the current.
I like that.
So the author also introduces a couple other techniques that I think our listeners will find really helpful.
Let's hear them.
Well, one technique that really resonated with me is Brian Tracy's famous eat that frog analogy. Have you heard of this one?
Of course, it's a classic. The idea is to tackle your most challenging or unpleasant task first thing in the morning. Get that frog out of the way, and the rest of the day feels like a breeze.
Yeah, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Just do it quickly, and then you can move on to more enjoyable things. But sometimes, even knowing we should eat that frog, it's still tempting to procrastinate. Any tips for overcoming that initial hurdle?
Absolutely. The author suggests breaking down large, intimidating tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Instead of focusing on the daunting summit, concentrate on taking one step at a time.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly. And by focusing on those smaller steps, we build momentum and create a sense of accomplishment that propels us forward.
It's like those video games where you start with smaller quests and gradually level up to face bigger challenges.
Right.
Each small victory gives you the confidence to tackle the next one.
That's a great way to think about it. And the author also highlights another powerful tool for decision-making and prioritization, the Eisenhower Matrix.
Oh, yes, the Eisenhower Matrix. I heard of this one.
Yeah.
It's all about categorizing tasks based on their urgency and importance. Right?
Exactly. We have tasks that are urgent and important, those that are important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and finally those that are neither urgent nor important. The key is to focus on those tasks that fall into the urgent and important quadrant first.
So those are the tasks that are both time-sensitive and have a significant impact on our goals.
Mhm.
But what about the other quadrants? Do we just ignore them?
Not necessarily. The Eisenhower matrix helps us to be more intentional with our time. Tasks that are important but not urgent can be scheduled and worked on strategically. Tasks that are urgent but not important can often be delegated or streamlined. And those tasks that are neither urgent nor important, well, those might be prime candidates for elimination altogether.
So it's not just about doing things quickly, it's about doing the right things efficiently. I love how all of these techniques, from the Ivy Lee method to the Eisenhower matrix, really emphasize the importance of conscious decision-making when it comes to our time.
That's the key takeaway here. We can't manage time itself, but we can manage our choices. It's about being deliberate about how we spend our precious hours and ensuring our actions align with our priorities.
So it's less about time management and more about priority management.
Exactly. And that's what this entire deep dive has been all about. It's about recognizing that we have more control over our time than we think. We're not just passive passengers on the time train. We're the conductors choosing our destination and charting our course.
I love that analogy. It's about taking control of the wheel and steering our lives in the direction we want to go. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive, and I hope our listeners are feeling empowered to take charge of their time and priorities.
Me too. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, experiment with different techniques, and celebrate your progress along the way.
And as a final thought-provoking question to leave you with, what one major task will you prioritize this week to make real progress toward your goals? Choose wisely, my friend, and watch as you start to reclaim your time and unlock your true potential. Until next time, happy prioritizing.